Hey guys, how's everyone doing? I'm showing my face, huh? Isn't that crazy? I have a reaction to the news, right? And I think we all know what we're talking about, but I'm going to wait a little bit. We have a backup channel that you guys can check out for us I think you guys would like. And we'll probably save some of that over there as far as reactions go. I don't know. So I got a couple messages this morning and was told to, not told, but just what did I think, blah 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 blah. And if you're kind of confused as to what I'm referencing, I'll just give you guys a little bit of a preview. So I'm looking at your guys' comments. Yeah. I'll have more reaction later. That's all I can say. I kind of wanted to do some content and we're going to stick to our content because that's what we do here. But that's all I can say. You know, we'll just twerk for now. We'll twerk. I can't say I'm sad. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not upset. I'm not upset. I don't like the fact that we're playing victim now, but I'm not upset. I'll say that. And if you don't like it, then why don't we start with content? Let me remove myself real quick. We'll get things rolling. Alrighty. Let's get going. I promise to do a little reaction video later on today. I am confused, but that's nothing new to me, Barbie. You'll have to catch up and follow me on that backup channel. So we did create a new backup channel for our little channel over here. If you have not subscribed, it's this one right here. I put the link in the description box. So that's gonna, get some traffic over there. I'll go ahead and maybe give some reactionary there, but not too much. I don't like the censorship of people. Don't get me wrong. That's not at all what I like to see and or see promoted. But I also think that if the shoe fits, you have to wear it. Okay. So I've gotten in trouble here on YouTube. Okay. A lot of us do. And sometimes, like, when you make shit kind of happen, because you have such a huge following, then you have to kind of own up to those consequences. Why not? So I don't, that's all I got to say about that. I had to block so many people because of the ongoing harassment. So I've received it from that end as well. So I don't want to hear this sub story because I'm not buying it. I don't care. I'm just saying it. And you can dislike me if you like. That's fine. I'm just saying. Anyways, why don't we get started? So let me tell you guys what happened. This whole R. Kelly thing, we've been looking at it too, but didn't really want to dig into it as much as I wanted to, right? I'm going to share with you guys the transcript for the court hearing. When I was looking into it, one thing that stood out to me that I was like, this needs to be talked about because this is one of the witnesses that's, also in the trial is this doctor, okay, that treated R. Kelly for those STDs, okay? And I'm thinking, it's his personal doctor. And what I was able to gather, at least from the major media, and I don't really trust a lot of the major media, like say your CNN or your NBC or anything like that, because there is a censorship, like I said, of hearsay. Sometimes you're only hearing the prosecutor side, and sometimes you're only hearing the defense side. And what is the truth out there, especially when you're not where this trial is being held, which is, I believe, in New York, right? I think it's important to dig into the information, get some information about it, okay? And then come up with your own conclusions from there. So we pulled the transcript. Well, we have a transcript here, okay? And shout out to this person who let me actually look into it. Shout out to the court reporters that sit there and write all these transcripts, because I mean, they're pretty lengthy, guys. And so in these transcripts, they are interviewing the witnesses, cross-examining is really what they're doing. Okay, direct examination, cross-examination by both attorneys. Okay, the U.S. assistant attorney by the name of Miss Shahada. Okay, so she's working for the prosecutor, and then you have the R. Kelly attorney. So when I was looking into this doctor, I'm thinking, okay, a doctor. What does a doctor do? They swear to help. They're here for everyone. Um, they are, sworn into this duty to do no harm. And so it is very interesting to me that, like, you have somebody that is an enabler of that camp, was an enabler of that camp, and he's a doctor in a position of trust, right? And so doctors are mandated reporters in social services. Doctors are also mandated to report infectious diseases in certain areas. So we have to be very careful. And I'm just going to tell you guys why we have to kind of be mindful of these people that are out there with these licenses. And I almost feel like, is this guy going to lose his license? So I wanted to bring in here the transcript, okay? And where he's being interviewed. And let me tell you his background. He's in internal medicine, allergy, and immunology, okay, where he practices in Chicago, Illinois. And so where I highlighted yellow is kind of like where we're going to get the juice of the information. Do you personally know R. Kelly? Yes, I do. He says, what capacity? I'm his physician. Do you know him in any other ways as well, socially? This is what he said. Not only does he know R. Kelly as his physician, but he knows him socially. And of course, I'm thinking, well, what the hell does that mean? Do you go out with him? Do you go out for drinks? What do you mean by you know this man socially? Because if you guys have a doctor, do you guys go out with your doctors? Do you go drinking with your doctors? Do you hang out with your doctors? I just find that to be weird. I don't know, especially if they give you physicals. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I'm scrolling down, and as I'm seeing the question that Ms. Shahada is asking, he says, now you indicated that you were his primary physician, correct? He responds, correct. Can you briefly describe your medical training to the jury? So he's trained in internal medicine, 3-year program after medical school, internal medicine residency that was followed by 2 years of an allergy and immunology fellowship. Both were at the Northwestern University. All right, and he also teaches at the medical school as well. So, do you practice both internal medicine, allergy? And he says, yes, I do. Are you board certified? Yes, I am. In both specialties? Yes, I am. Generally speaking, she's asking, what is internal medicine? And then he responds, it's primary care with the knowledge studied also in subspecialties of internal medicine, such as allergies, immunologies, infection diseases, endocrinology, gastrology, cardiology, and others. That's a huge profile to have, okay? And does that include diagnosing sexually transmitted diseases? Now we know, and the rumor has been, and it's not a rumor, this definitely confirms it, that R. Kelly had some STDs, STIs, I believe that's what you call them now. And one of those was known to be herpes. But what I found interesting in here is that he has been seeing R. Kelly since 1994, where he has treated numerous herpes, not herpes, I'm sorry, STDs. And I'm sure herpes, right? Outbreaks overall. But I was kind of taken back, and we're going to get to that point. But it says, and does that include diagnosing sexually transmitted disease? He answers, yes, it does. Including herpes? Yes, it does. Now, following your medical training, did you open a practice or did you buy a practice? He bought his own practice around June 1984. Okay, 1984. Yeah, that's right. From there, and we're going to go down. He talks a little bit about his practice, what he does, what he holds. He teaches. He has the teaching faculty position at Northwestern University Medical School. That's profession of medicine where I work with allergy and immunology fellows, residents, and medical students. So then the attorney goes in and says, I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government Exhibit 48. So here they're showing exhibits, right, to show the ID that he works at this institution, this medical university, right, where he's supervising these fellows, training them possibly, I'm thinking, on infectious diseases. All right. So as a teacher, I'm thinking, all right, medical teacher, leader. All right. So then he, meaning responds by telling the prosecutor that he has been treating R. Kelly for approximately 25 years. She's asking, now, for how long were you the defendant's primary care physician? He responds, approximately 25 years. And approximately when did you first meet the defendant? In 1994. 1994. And how did you meet him? So then we find out about this name right here, Daryl McDavid. Daryl McDavid was, I believe, at some point his manager. Daryl McDavid was a patient of Kris McGrath, the doctor. Okay. And so then Daryl McDavid did the introduction. That's how he met R. Kelly. So he was treating him, brings him in by referral, I'm assuming. I'm not really sure. And so then we go in there to this other yellow part, which I think just bringing out what is really important in terms of the highlighted and transcript, because it's very lengthy. He says the prosecutor shows him a picture. Says, do you recognize this person? Yes, I do. Who do you recognize him to be? Daryl McDavid. Again, the same person that did the introduction between both of them. So then from there on out, they verified that he received a subpoena, meaning he, the doctor, okay, he's the witness. They talk a little bit about the changes in electronic medical forms. So at some point in 1994 to about 2011, there was original paper records that this doctor was using, and then it transferred over to online. And when he would call in prescriptions for his patients, he would write them on paper, keep those electronic files in his desk, right? And then they did the switch over to electronic, and now everything's phone. But he wasn't always consistent about keeping every piece of record when he treated R. Kelly or any other patient, especially because these were just regular patients. That's kind of his justification. So when we jump into the prosecutor, who says, all right, now, I like to focus on the time period before March 2011, before the switch to electronic record keeping. In that time, what were the methods used to issue prescriptions for your patients? He responds, handwritten prescriptions or telephone call-in prescriptions. And when you say telephone call-in prescriptions, who would you be calling? He says, the pharmacy. And in those circumstances where you called the pharmacy, what information did you provide the pharmacy? He says the patient's name, DOB, medication, quantity, dosage, refills, and signatures if it was written. Otherwise, just a verbal over the phone. Now, Ms. Shahada is asking, now, in your paper records, did you keep a record of each time you called in a prescription for a patient? He says, no, I did not. She's asking, why not? He responds by saying it was just the standard practice at that time that you wouldn't write a note every time you call in a prescription. So Ms. Shahada goes in and says, now, your medical practice, do you sometimes receive phone calls from patients? Yes, he responds. So then they go into this procedure. I think what this prosecutor is trying to establish is that there's probably records out there and or times where R. Kelly was calling in to be seen or checked or whatever for prescription, and not everything was noted. Not everything was documented. So this kind of caused some chaos, right? And that's really what she's trying to get at. So she shows an exhibit, and the exhibit is really just the record keeping, the prescriptions that were called in. That's exhibit 237. They show it in there. And then we're jumping into it even more. She shows a handwriting, right? Which is his. Says, yes, that's my handwriting. Now, directing your attention to the first entry on the page. Had you met the defendant before that date? He responds, no, I had not. She asks, so was this your first meeting with him? Yes, it was, confirming that there was a meeting between them in 1994. Okay, so we're going to keep going down. He says, the doctor, in response to a question, he's 27, black male singer. Then Ms. Shahad is asking, and was the defendant 27 years old when he first went to go see you? He responds, yes. Now I want to go down to the fourth line. What is indicated there? The fourth line says, concern about chlamydia. No genital urinary symptoms. So the first time that R. Kelly meets this doctor was for chlamydia. And he was 27 years old. So the herpes wasn't right away. Okay. And it wasn't just one, it's just one STD that everybody got. Obviously, there was probably more STDs out here. And we're going to go into this a little bit more. But in 1994, when he first saw this doctor, it was for chlamydia, to treat chlamydia. Okay. Then it goes into confirming his weight, how tall he is, the question, and does this record reflect whether you conducted a physical examination during this office visit with the defendant? The response, yes, it does. And does it reflect that in that regard, did you do a physical examination? Yes, it's under number 2, the skin exam. So everything, the heart, lungs, abdomen, extremities. And then the question that the prosecutor is asking. And did you order any tests related to sexually transmitted diseases following the physical examination? The doctor responds, yes, I did. And what tests did you order? The tests I ordered were a chemistry, which is generally kidney and liver, a blood count to screen for like anemia, leukemia, and then chlamydia tests and syphilis tests. So those last 2 tests are related to STDs, she's asking. Yes, they are. Now, turning to page 8 of the exhibit, again, these are medical records that we're showing. Do you recognize what type of document that is? Shows them a document. It's a lab report. And you see where it says drawn date and time? He responds, yes. What date is listed there? September 13th, 1994. All right. So here we have another visit. The first visit was in June 1994, and here we have another visit, September 13th, 1994. He says, she says, now going back to the first page, you had indicated this date here, indicating is that September 12th or 13th of 1994, now having looked at the lab report. I'd say it's September 13, 1994. And the question starts, and according to this document, what were the results of those 2 STD tests that you ordered on September 13th, 1994? The 2 tests were chlamydia and syphilis. They were negative. All right. So then they go back to the other exhibit. So these were medical records that were pulled. They're pulling all these medical records. Janine says, "Hey, my God, September 13th is my birthday. I was 10. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Then we have another date, January 23rd of 1995. I guess the 90s were a pretty busy year for R. Kelly. Then he went to go see the doctor a couple times. So she's asking, is there an entry on this page for the encounter with the defendant January 23rd, 1995? Yes, there is. And what kind of encounter was this? He responds, it's a progress note with the chief concern, examination, assessment, and plan. And the question goes, and what was the chief concern on that visit? Penile stinging. 1.5 days, no discharge, no partners. Do you see, guys? No partners. That's what it says. Illness, no known drug allergies. And then the question goes, and can you tell from this record whether you examined the defendant that day? The answer, it says exam, and then decline rectal exam, penis. There was no discharge. Question, what, if any, tests did you order following this examination? And I think there's a typo right there. His answer was, I ordered a gonorrhea culture and a chlamydia test. I'm going to direct your attention to page 11, says the prosecutor. There's another exhibit. Does this indicate the results of those tests? She's asking. And he responds, yes, it is. It does. And what does it indicate? Positive for growth of gonorrhea, negative test for chlamydia and syphilis. Okay, so here we are, January 1994. More STDs. Penile stinging. What else? Declined the rectum and all that other stuff, but the penile stinging. And then also says no multiple partners, no discharge. King Chameleon's Eye, I don't know if you want to cook dinner while you're listening about penile stinging. I'm just telling you, we got some graphic STIs conversations happening right now as it pertains to this doctor, guys. It's crazy. So, and Payne's eyes are just, I know. So, question. And so, what does the test results mean with respects to gonorrhea? He responds that he had gonorrhea, explaining his chief concern at this visit. What is gonorrhea? She's asking. It is a sexually transmitted bacterial disease. Is it curable? It's curable. Now, as we see this exhibit, the lab issued this report on January 28, 1995. Correct? Answer, correct. So she takes him back to another exhibit. But guess what? Is there an encounter on this page from February 7th, 1994? Wait a minute. So we saw the doctor twice in 1994, and now there's another encounter in 1995. So we have two encounters. You had an encounter in January, and here you have an encounter in February 1995. And he responds, yes, there is. And the question, what kind of encounter was that? And he responds, a progress note. And what, if anything, happened during that encounter? Was that an in-person visit? He responds, it was an in-person visit. And what happened during that visit? Answer, after talking to somebody, I can't make out the name. A patient came today and I treated him because of that result with the Z-Pack and a shot of blank, blank, blank. We took out the name of the medicine. In a muscularly, I think that's how you say that, and educated the patient to tell partners and to practice safe sex. So this is like the fourth appointment, and he had two appointments, 94. Then he had an appointment the first month of the year in 1995. This is a second appointment in the second month of the year in 1995, which would be February. And the doctor advises him, you have to educate your partners about safe sex. The man is 27, 28 at this time. And your advisement is to tell him you have to educate your partners about safe sex. And you've seen him pretty close in time frame. Yeah. He was walking around in the 90s. He was a walking cesspool of STDs. He was a walking STD. If you believe it or not, I've heard that said before. This would be the equivalent of a walking STD. And no education in sight. And no from this doctor duty to maybe inform. No. He is given this role to the patient who he's already seen 4 times in a matter of what, less than 8 months? 6 months? He was a walking STD. That's kind of where I land with that. Anyways, so. We keep it going. The prosecutor, which I thought was a very good question to ask. And what does it mean? Advise the patient to tell partners and recommend safe sex. She's asking this, like, what do you mean by that, right? Which I think I'd ask the same question. What the hell do you mean by that? Because the time frame that you've seen this man, his response was, with sexually transmitted diseases, you have to educate the patient. Make sure you treat the patient and have the patient inform any sexual contact that they should be seen and treated. Question, meaning sexual partners. Answer, yeah, sexual partners. Question, and why did you advise the defendant in that matter? His response, because I just diagnosed him with gonorrhea. Question, is that your regular practice when you tell a patient that he or she has an STD? His response is yes, that's my regular practice. Then the question comes, and by STD, you mean sexually transmitted diseases. He confirms, sexually transmitted diseases, correct. Question, has it always been your regular practice? She must have been like, what the hell is going on here? I'm laughing as I'm reading this because I'm like sitting and thinking, if I'm a juror in this little trial, I don't know if I could keep a straight face by like the question. I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. And then he answers, it's always been and is my regular practice. Question. So, what does she do? I'd like to direct your attention to page 3 of the exhibit. There's another exhibit. What reflected for the encounter on May 1st, 1996? Now, wait a minute. We actually did pretty good here. Okay. R. Kelly actually did pretty good here. He went from February 1995, right? To now, May 1st, 1996. Another year. Let me take a drink, guys, because I'm just thinking in my mind, looking at these exhibits, like this would have triggered me real quick. Just saying. I don't know. So he says it's a progress note. Visit. Do you want me to proceed? Sure, she says. Chief concern is penile purulent drip. 2 days. Declines cultures, etc. for privacy. Yeah, so now we have a I guess it's a penis strip. Like there's stuff dripping out at this point. I don't think this video is going to get monetized. I'm just going to say it. 2 days. For privacy, he declined the cultures. Okay. So then the question, and what cultures did you want to run at this point? He says, I would only have to take an educated and a retrospective guess. Chlamydia. Yeah. Drip, drip. The details. I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to save you guys from this, but it did say drip. I know. All right. So then R. Kelly's attorney stands up and says, I would object. The court says, make sure you have the microphone on and you can take your mask off. Otherwise, I can't hear you. Are you objecting? Becker says, yes. The court says, when you say you have an educated guess, are you talking about your usual practice or do you know what happened next? The witness, which is the doctor, says, it would be my usual practice to repeat what I just did in the previous visit. The court says, okay. So then Bleak says, thank you. All right. So the examination continues. There's a change of question, right? Yeah, I know. Look at this. Object the drip. What color was the drip? I really don't know. Oh my God. Maybe we'll find out. I'm not really sure. I don't know. Maybe it's green. I don't know. Okay, let me stop. I know. I can't say enough. Ew. I know. All right, let's get through this. So the question continues. Would those be testings for STDs? Answer, yes, it would. And that involves cultures. Is that correct? His answer, gonorrhea, culture, chlamydia, whatever else I would have thought at that time. Okay, and your notes indicate that the patient, the defendant, declined for privacy reasons, correct? That's correct. Now, is there another entry on this page for October 29th? Well, what date is that entry for you? October 29th, 1988? 88 or 89? I'm sorry, 80, 98. 88 or 98. So there was an error on the date, and the doctor corrects it to say 1998. Okay. So what does that indicate? So then remember, we were from 96, now we're going to 98. The 90s were a rough year. I don't know. But what does that indicate? Chief concern was sore tip of the penis within 24 hours. Esotopic, I think that's how you say that. Esotopic, no discharge, exam negative impression. What is that? Urethritis. And I drew the arrow pointing to the treatment above, which is, I think, what a treatment I gave on May 1st, 1996. Yeah. So the same treatment? His answer, I think the treatments for both those visits. Question. What was that treatment for? Answer. Most cause of urethritis, most likely treated chlamydia and gonorrhea. All right. So there's some confusion on the paperwork and year, right? And so then they're going through it and they're saying that they had the same treatment for 96 and 98. Okay. And so then it moves on and we have another office visit. Okay. This time it's going to be June 5th, 2000. And let me stop right here and let me look at this comment because this is a very interesting comment. It is not up to the physician to inform each person about the likely source of his or her infection unless the patient is monogamous relationship. Yeah. So then I went into the CDC website and you're absolutely right. But I think, I mean, if it's something like HIV, then I think it's a little bit different, right? But I was just curious to see what the CDC had to say and or the local health department for the state of Chicago, Illinois. Well, for Chicago. And we'll get into that in a minute, but they have a list of those reported STIs and STDs that you have a certain time frame that a physician needs to report. But I think one of the things is like if the man is a walking STD and he's infecting a bunch of people, clearly he's having sex because he's also picking them up, right? They're coming to him and he's probably releasing them out as well. Then where does the prevention piece come from? How do we know how many people were actually infected by him one way or another? We just don't know. Yeah, so he allowed fame and money to allow him to forget the AMA Code of Ethics. That's right. He is a museum. He is the Museum of Natural Diseases, LOL. I know. Isn't that sad? Anyways, so we have another visit on June 5th. So we got through 1999, maybe, because at least this is what was recorded. That's saying that if the doctor recorded every visit, right? Because he also makes it sound like he didn't document every visit as much. But here we have another one, June 5th, 2000, okay? And the complaint was irritated penis. Saturday evening, progressing to swelling of the head of the penis and red bumps. Oh God. Okay, and itch. Preceded by several hours before wore look, preceded by several hours before wore leather pants. They were black, tight, around the waist, without underwear for a photo shoot. No burning or urination, no hematuria. See, I can't read medical words. That's blood in the urine. Okay, so there's no blood in the urine. Thank you. No frequency of urination. Otherwise, feels well. Other than the swelling and the red bumps on the penis head and they itch. Then the question that she's asking, I'm just going to stop you for a moment. She says, that portion that you read, is that what the patient, the defendant, Mr. Kelly, reported to you on that visit? His answer, and right, it's what he reported. And then what I asked for, pertinent, positive, or negative. And the question, and did you conduct examination during that visit? He says, yes, there was an examination. Question, what did your notes reflect regarding that? Answer, it says, exam glands, penis, that the head of the penis, very small, vessels, those are very small blisters. Okay. And what else is reflected on your notes for that visit? My impression and my plan. And what is that? My impression was either contact the, oh my God, I can't even read these medical words. Dermatitis from the black dye in the leather of, oh my God, in the leather or leather components, or herpes simplex virus. So he was trying to figure out if the leather pants, because remember Achilles said he wore leather pants for a music video or something, didn't wear underwear and they were tight and could have possibly been rubbing around his stuff. And he might have had some type of reaction to the black dye in the leather or leather components or herpes. Yeah, I'm struggling reading the description as well because I'm like, I cannot read all these medical words, but also like just trying to keep a straight face as I'm reading this, guys. I didn't know this was gonna be this hard. Just saying. And we're gonna keep it going. Let's see. Here we go. Differential diagnosis for this visit. Okay, is that what is known as differential diagnosis? All right. What does that mean? That means that the possibility based on the history and the examination. Question, prosecutor's asking. And you mentioned contact dermatitis. What is that? And his answer was a skin reaction most common in the community would be like poison ivy. Okay, so that's just like a little regular skin rash, right? That I guess you could get on certain dyes and leather pants, depending if you're allergic. So, and what was the other possible diagnosis? Herpes simplex virus or genital herpes. And to be clear, what genital herpes, the type of herpes you suspected the defendant had at that point based on your examination. Was it? That's the question. And his answer was correct. Question, and why did you suspect genital herpes as well? Why did you indicate genital herpes as one of the two diagnoses in your differential diagnosis? They both were caused of vessels or blisters or bumps. Okay, so, and the question is, what is genital herpes? A sexually transmitted disease caused by herpes simplex virus, usually type 1, could be type 2. And the question is, and so genital herpes is which type generally? It's a lot of generally. Answer, it's a viral illness caused by the herpes simplex virus. There's more than one with your stereotype. Most common is stereotype 1. It could be most commonly it's type 2 and could be also type 1. Well, yeah, that's what I thought too. You guys are so funny. Yeah, the blisters. Hey, crazy cat mama says so many musicians wear black leather pants for the photo shoots and shows. Most go cameo in the commando in the pants so they can market their meat packages, right? Maybe that's what it was. But I'm a little worried about, I don't know. Is that really the case? Was he really allergic to the dye? I don't really know. Well, we now know that that's not the case. But anyways, um so then on this one, what if any test did you order at this visit? He said that he ordered the herpes simplex virus culture. And why did you do that? This is when he suspected that the herpes was causing the penis to be irritated and swelling in the head and the penis with the red bumps. Okay. So then it keeps going. And as we just went over prior to that date, you had previously diagnosed the defendant with STDs, correct? Correct. Gonorrhea specifically, correct? Correct. Now, is genital herpes curable? It is not curable. Okay. It can go in remission, but generally not curable. Now, you indicated that you ordered or that you conducted a herpes culture. Is that correct? That's right. And can you explain to the jury what that is and what that means? It's a swab, cotton tip. They swab the lesions of the penis and then put it into a culture. Okay. And the results can vary. If you don't get it at the right time, you can have a false negative. And I think at the right time would mean like at an outbreak, right? I don't know. Just thinking out loud. I like to catch it early so that you can get a positive culture. I guess that would be very, very, very important. So then the prosecutor's saying, so just to explain a little bit more about what that means, is timing very important for herpes virus culture? A timing is very important for virus culture. Okay. Can you explain that? Because it goes through its changes of the skin from watery blisters with red base to the drying of the blisters and the flaking of the blisters. They're not shedding the virus. The virus is absence by then. The virus are usually present at the beginning of the lesions, and even then you might get a negative culture. Okay. So he kind of goes through this little health read of like why he might not test positive if you don't test it right when it needs to be tested. And does a negative herpes culture mean you don't have herpes? No, it doesn't, right? Because of that process, right? Yeah, I know you're gagging. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's a lot. So his answer, it doesn't mean you don't have herpes. You may not have captured it. It's a total clinical presentation of history, the exam, and then in the future response to treatment, which helps you confirm the diagnosis. You don't always get a positive culture. Okay. And we, figured this out if you're waiting for the blisters. Over time, if a patient has recurrent skin lesions, or penis lesions of that same nature, it is a response to treatment, then it's genital herpes. So they go to another exhibit. It's the lab result for January 5th, 2000. And so then the herpes simplex culture is negative. So then, and did this result come in June 7th, 2000? Yes, it did. It came back June 7th, 2000. And what, if anything, did you conclude from the negative culture? His answer was that it was not conclusive and that we had to follow the clinical course to see if he called or reported any more future bumps or penis lesions, then try treatment to see if it responded to treatment either intermittently or long term. So, to be fair, you did not conclude that the defendant did not have herpes based on the tests. Answer: I did not conclude that he did not have herpes. He still could have herpes. So, given the uncertainty of the tests, she's asking about the practice. Do you have regard advising the patients about such results in these herpes symptoms? And he says, well, if it's pretty possible herpes or could be herpes, I once again advise the patient to seek medical help when the lesions occur, or inform sexual partners of potential safe sex, use a condom, inform your sexual partners, and la 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 la. That's kind of where his practice goes, right? And she's asking, is that something that you did with the defendant? Eventually came to the conclusion that he had herpes. Okay. With the recurrent calls or complaints about the bumps, and he did respond to herpes treatment when they came more common. I recommended regular treatment instead of intermittent treatment. So the question is asked, so after this initial office visit in 2000, did you in fact hear from the defendant again regarding the same types of symptoms? At some point, he says, because I began prescribing, and I believe this is the long word, medical word for Vyvanse, the treatment for herpes, I do recall him making a comment once I educated him on safe sex. So the doctor educated him on safe sex. Now, what appointment are we in at this point? From 1994, I believe this is like appointment number 6. I could be wrong. I don't know. And it says, then I quote, then I should not put it in raw. I should put a hood on it. I wonder if that was written in the medical report. Don't put it in raw. Put a hood on it. That's what the defendant said to you at that point. Okay. At that point, I said, yes, you should use a condom. What did you understand him to mean? I should not put it in raw. That he should have protection on his penis. Shouldn't just be uncovered. And what did you understand him to be referring when he used the term hood, a condom? And this was after you diagnosed the defendant with herpes? His answer, at some point over the years, from June 5th, 2000, and then Ms. Shahada, okay, the prosecutor says, 1 moment, Your Honor. The court, okay. So there's a brief pause. They probably turned in the white noise so nobody could hear them talking, blah, 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 blah. The question, and doctor, just to be clear, when you advised the defendant to put a condom, that was during for purposes of engaging in sexual activity, correct? His answer, I don't know what other reason you put a condom on for. I'm sorry. Question. Just so we're clear, I guess we're clear. All right. So another question. Now you testified that you began treating the defendant in 1994 and continue to treat him for approximately 25 years, correct? Correct. The doctor answers. And I believe you also testified that at some point you concluded the defendant had contracted genital herpes. Is that correct? Answer. That's correct. Question. And how did you come with that conclusion? His answer, over time, complained that the patient had concerns about the bumps. At times, the medicine would help, so he would call and request a prescription. He called it the blue pill. I don't know, is Vyvanse blue? Question, and what did you understand the defendant to mean when he asked you for the blue pill? Answer, to treat him for genital herpes. Question, what, if any, how did you in your practice treat the defendant's genital herpes? His answer, well, initially, as I recall, intermittently until in general. The rule is if it occurs more than 3 times in a year, you should be taking medication every day. A pill a day to reduce shedding and reduce the risk, but not eliminate the risk of spreading it to someone else. But you can reduce the risk by taking medication every day instead of as needed. As needed, what are you referring to? As needed for outbreaks. Like if you just have 1 outbreak a year or 2 outbreaks a year, that would be appropriate. But if it's more than 3, the rule is, in general, to start on a daily pill to perhaps not have any more outbreaks, reduce the viral shedding. This is crazy. Let me see. So they get into the treatment, the 12 months, and it is Valtrex. I guess that's the name of it. Valtrex is the blue pill medication. Let me see if I can go into this more. It is crazy how much information is in here. Now, I'm going to go in. Let me see. After you first prescribe Altrix, the generic form, did the defendant continue to ask you for the prescription? Yes, he did. And how did he do so? On a phone call, usually from his employees, most commonly a man named June Brown. Question. And did he also sometimes call you himself? He did. Now you mentioned. So then they go into this exhibit, another exhibit. There's a June Brown, and we're coming up to this. Now, I'm going to stop right here because, like I said, it is a very intense witness examination. I mean, they're going in there deep. Okay. So at this point, I don't want to hear anybody saying that the man didn't have any type of STDs. And I'm also kind of side-eyeing, and we'll probably finish this part up at some other live because it is so dense. And I wanted to show you something before I end, though, because I think this is important. I went into, so the guy is from Chicago, Illinois. Let me stop sharing this screen real quick. Guy is from Chicago, Illinois, right? And I'm thinking in my mind, well, I know that there are something has to be reportable, right? Like, did he ever report anything? Well, Cook County, okay, they have this little what is it called? The letter size download. Let's see if we can look into it. Here it is. Reportable diseases required by the Illinois Department of Health. Okay. So this is just one county, but it's required by the Illinois Department of Health. All right. So I'm thinking, okay, there's some that you have to report immediately. Okay. And then there's some that you have to report like within 3 hours. Smallpox, for example, is one of them. Then you have the ones that you have to report within 24 hours. Now, all of this could have changed from 1994 to 2000. Okay? Could very well have been changed. I'm not really sure. But if you look in here, I'm thinking, well, are there any STDs listed here that would need to be reported within 24 hours? I don't see anything here. None of this looks like an STD. I could be wrong. But then there's this one here. Within 7 days, you have chlamydia here. Right? He had chlamydia at some point. I don't know about gonorrhea. There's gonorrhea there. But I don't know if this is how it looked like back in 1994 to 2000 to know if these STIs, STDs were reported. You have AIDS up there. So there are things that you do have to report. I don't see herpes in here as well. Yeah. And I heard that too, a venereal disease. I'm like, well, what does the health department have to say about that? Right? So I'm thinking in my mind, this is giving the ownership for the medical provider to report the disease. Even though he's treating R. Kelly, the ownership to treat, right? Do no harm. I'm thinking in my head, well, with this little list here, at least you got 7 days, but has this changed? And this is Cook County. It could be a different county. I'm not really sure. And this is Illinois, but this is the order of the health department of Illinois. I don't know. So I'm just curious to know what your guys' thoughts are about this. I know we got into some stuff, and we'll probably finish that transcript later on because it gets into some other stuff. But the man treated R. Kelly for 25 years. Okay. And I wonder, he never got paid. The man never got paid. Not like he had R. Kelly's insurance to bill. But what were those perks that he got in return for treating R. Kelly? I don't know. I don't know. This is why condoms were made. Although there is not enough condoms to keep a gal safe from him, right? The man is a walking STD. I'm sorry. Please don't try. See, you had Chameleon's Eye trying to cook earlier. You have somebody else trying to eat. I don't know how you can eat, especially when we just talked about a dripping penis. Didn't I just say that? Dripping penis, something like that. I was like, the what? I'm trying to get monetized in this video, and I don't know if it's gonna happen. Let's see. Yes, hit that notification bell. New fashion statements, condoms that match your socks. Oh my God. I mean, if you want to promote safer sex, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yes, it's blue, Barbie. You got people laughing on the chat, just letting you know. Yes, hit that thumbs up. Yes. The CDC, sexually transmitted diseases, chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, and I don't even know how to say that, have all. Oh, okay. But when did that start? What year? Was it in 1994? Because I wonder if he ever reported those. And could that mean that he needs to be reported to the board so he can lose his license? Because I wonder how many people could have been prevented from getting these STDs, STIs. That is interesting. I don't know. Yeah. Let's see. Right. It's because it's permanent, while gonorrhea and chlamydia do count as a venereal disease. Right. Isn't that weird? I don't know. This is best heard with an empty stomach. Yes, it is. It certainly is. Flight tickets, concerts, damn invite to R. Kelly's dog funeral. Are you serious? Was his payment? This is a doctor's payment, guys. And here's the deal. We're not even done. Like we only went through what, page 25, I think. I'm trying to keep a straight face as I'm reading this, and even I'm 28. Even I'm getting a little queasy just thinking about it. I don't know. Yes, I'm serious about those payments. It's on the paperwork. That is crazy. Oh my gosh. But you know what? He's teaching at your institutions and your schools, guys. He's an educator. He is a public educator. We're letting him do this too. So I'm not really sure what we're all upset about. He's been treating him for 25 years. R. Kelly in the 90s he's still a walking STD, but he was really doing it raw, as he says in his statement. I don't know. Unless you guys don't see nothing wrong with the little bump and grind, I don't know. Let me not use those words. Anyways, shout out to everyone in the chat, and for those that hung out with us during this time. I'm gonna stop right now. We'll probably come back to this. We will see about what all of this is gonna look like moving forward. I feel like I needed to at least break it down a little bit, give it a little introduction, and I'll definitely give a warning. Make sure that you guys don't eat the next time that we come on. I might do a little reaction video on our backup channel. I'm still looking into it. We'll see what comes out of all that. So let me not leave you with some STI, STD talk. But if I do, then at the very least, you know. That rabbit does not have any STIs or STDs, okay? Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted, all right? That rabbit knows about condoms. Just say it. And safe sex, okay? Shout out to everyone. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Make sure you subscribe to our backup channel. I'll likely go in there today and just mess around with it and do a live there if I can. I'm not really sure. Haven't really messed with it too much. But just to start the growth of that channel would be great. I will see you guys later, and I am out of here. We are out of here. We are out of here. We're out of here. Rabbits out.